of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, and thank you everyone for being here. First thing we have is our agenda. Is there any additions or changes for our agenda?
With that, I'd make a motion to approve today's agenda as written.
Second.
Motions to approve the agenda has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of approving the agenda as is, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meeting attached. Any additions, corrections, clarifications?
I see none. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes of the December 5th supervisor meeting. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, let's proceed to vote for the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, first item on the agenda is Conservation Swan Lake North Cabin discussion. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi again, Jay.
This morning. All right, well, when I was here last and we started kind of the discussion on moving that house into Swan Lake to use as a rental cabin, I think we all kind of agreed that it was a good idea moving forward. It was going to be a matter of the funding, and at that time, you know, that was kind of just some estimates on my behalf as far as the numbers I gave you last time. So I've got more concrete numbers. We've got quotes for the moving, the basement, and all the big ticket items that it's going to cost. So I just want to update everybody with those. Pass those around.
This helps me already. So we're talking the new cabin now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're thinking which one the north one was, so. Refresh me again, Jace. Where exactly will this be located again? I'm sorry.
The board decided to put it up where the north shelter is now.
Okay, next, kind of like next to it?
It'll be about right where it's at now. We removed the north shelter. The board decided, we were at the point with the north shelter, it was in pretty much disrepair. It either needed a lot of money put into it or just to kind of get rid of it, because we just don't see the use out of it anymore.
Okay.
Now that we've got the education center and the e-shelter, we were getting very little revenue off that, where it just really didn't justify sticking any money into it. And this will be a nice location for that cabin. It kind of overlooks the lake and kind of up there by itself, where, you know, you're not in the hustle and bustle of the park. You can kind of get away from everything, so
Yeah.
that's what we decided.
Yeah, when I was out there that time, it, you know, all around the bottom, all the
Start to run.
rot, there was a lot of rotting going on.
Of this shelter?
Yeah, I mean, how long has that been there?
Well, it was probably built in the 50s, I suppose. I
Yeah,
don't know
it
for sure.
could
but-
be.
Okay, so it's gone? Okay.
Yep. So, looking at the new numbers here, and at our last conservation board meeting, we kind of threw some of these. As far as the moving cost, the low was 9,000 on that. That's to completely pick up the house from the location it's at, move it, set it on the new foundation. The basement, we decided to go with a full basement under it, for the simple fact that it's got a full basement under it now. All the HVAC and mechanicals are in the basement, and the cost of trying to relocate all that stuff just didn't make sense, so we decided to go with a full basement. And also, that gives us an option. We are gonna put a couple egress windows in there, so that gives us the option at some point of, if we wanna add a couple more bedrooms to finish off part of that basement. We're gonna go ahead and do that when we do the basement, just as, looking forward if we ever would decide to do that. As far as digging the hole for the basement, Todd Grossman has said he would donate that. He'll just come out and do that whenever we need it. So,
You'll extend a thank you
yep.
to him? Thank you.
As far as the septic and water, we talked with Carrie. They're gonna do all their stuff to put a septic system in, the perk tests and all that in the spring. And we can do all that work ourselves as far as hooking up the water as well. So, and that estimate's kind of based on a little bit of when we did the septic system at Bill's house. I kind of took those numbers. It should be something similar to those numbers. And put a little extra in there for the water line and that kind of stuff. So. Electrical, we're gonna have to run a new electrical service to it. which isn't that big a deal. We don't have to go that far. We're only about 200 feet from the transformer, so as far as bringing a new line in, hooking everything up, we'll hook it up to the same electrical panel that's in there. That's all coming with the house, so.
You plan to outsource that?
Yeah.
Okay, good call.
HVAC, not a whole lot there, other than we'll have to have somebody disconnect the air conditioner and hook it back up, pull the freon and stuff out. The furnace and air conditioner come with the house, so that's a good deal there. Be a few permits we gotta get as far as building permits and moving permits from the city. I didn't have this stuff in here last time. Furnishings, obviously, we're gonna have to do some furnishings for it, you know, beds in the bedroom, couch, table in the living room and kitchen, that kind of thing. So there'll be a little bit of that just to furnish it out. And then
There may be some donations on that as well.
There could be, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I put a little in there. The house, as it sits now, has got a 2-car garage on it, which we don't, obviously we don't need the garage, but the kitchen and living room is fairly small in the house, so we're thinking about converting that garage, closing in the garage doors and just kind of making an open living space out there as far as, you know, throw a couple tables out there or something, just a bigger area to gather. And you can kind of look on that first picture, that was kind of this is the basic layout of the house with the garage. And that's kind of my rendition of if we redo the garage, put a couple of windows in there and then maybe a patio door to the back. There's already an existing deck on there. We could attach those two, hook those two together and kind of make an outdoor space. And that side would be facing the lake.
The garage usage would be just summer use only, right? You're not putting heat in that, or?
But that would give us a little more room to do things, especially if it's raining or something, you can't be outside. And especially if you had a bunch of people, that'd give a nice sized area to gather, eat meals out there, whatever you want to do out there, so. But that's the layout of the house as it sits, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. And the kitchen and living room are kind of all together there, so. And then the last page is the basement, where the steps come down, where it says possible future bedrooms, that's where we're gonna put the 2 egress windows. And like I said, we're just gonna do that now, because it's easier to do now when you're doing it, rather than trying to come back and do it later. So on the other side will be the mechanical room where the furnace, electrical panel, all that stuff's at, so. So in looking at total costs, I think we were somewhere around 34,000 or 5,000, my last estimates, but that was, like I said, that was strictly me pulling numbers. So we're right at about 50,000 to do this.
The moving costs and the basement, the poured floors, et cetera, those are all bid, or
Yes.
basically?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. So, and I think, so that's, a little bit more than what I'd said last time, but these are pretty concrete numbers this time, so. I still think it's a pretty good deal versus, for what we're getting versus what it would cost us to start over from scratch and build something completely new, so.
When you said finish the basement, what level of finishing are you talking about? I assume the cement floor, but are you gonna finish out the walls and everything at this time?
Probably not at this time.
Okay.
That's why I just wanted to get the egress windows in as
Okay.
far as code requirements. If we would ever decide to put a couple of bedrooms down there or make 1 bedroom.
Okay.
That's something to think about down the road. Sometimes you get a couple families that want to come use a cabin together, where you have the 2 bedrooms upstairs. If you got kids, you could, put a couple bunk beds in a bedroom downstairs.
In the quote, it says finished basement, and I just wondered what you meant by that, okay?
Yeah. So we don't have any plans on finishing that off right now as far as, a usable area. It'll just be the 2-bedroom upstairs for now.
say if you're renting that facility, they would, the customer would have access to that basement, probably, like say for a tornado or.
Yes.
The door would be open, so it's not locked off, so that. And you'll probably, under those circumstances, you're probably gonna have a big family throw air mattresses down there, and throw the
Well,
kids
and
down there
that's,
anyway, you know?
And that's a possibility, and that's why we wanted to make sure.
Yeah, you got egress windows.
Yeah, this one is, it's
Yep.
a lot easier to do it when you're building the basements.
Mhm.
Rather than coming after the fact, so. So that's where we're at on it, and I guess, we talked a little bit last time, about the funding for it, if you guys wanted to be a part of that, whether you wanted to do a loan us some of the money for it. Like I said, I think last time we were talking about splitting the cost, and possibly either a one-time kind of donation for the project, or I think that was thrown out there as a loan too. So I guess that's more along the terms of what I want to discuss now that we've got the numbers and we kind of know where we're actually sitting. What your guys' thoughts are.
Well, your capital project is sitting right at 100,000 right now.
Correct.
And some of that is predetermined how that's gonna be spent, I think. So how much will you have at your access to
Well,
invest in this?
and that's, coming into next fiscal year, we want to get that Tigas property paid off. So
Mhm.
that's kind of going to be our main expense with, coming out of that.
Will this be the final payment then this year?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
get it done and out of here and be done with that project. We'll pay that off a year ahead of time, so. We do have some REAP money we can use to help pay for that. So I'm looking at, and we've got the mastic leveling job on the trail that we've budgeted for. That'll be, along with our payment to Sac County, that'll be about 20,000. So I'm looking at, as of we sit right now, if we take the Tigas and the trail project out of there, if we use some of our REAP dollars to help pay the Tigas, finish paying the Tigas off, and we do get a $10,000 contribution from Pheasants Forever to help pay for that too. So I'm looking at about 55,000 left over, barring any other expenses. So that's taking those two big ones out of there. So, I guess looking at it, could we pay for it and do it just straight out of our capital? Yes, but that would leave us with about nothing in there if anything else would come up. So, we kind of got in that situation with the trail a little bit too, so kind of ran it clear down to nothing. So I guess what, when we talked about the loan and I guess if that was the way, if you guys decided to do that, and we talked a little bit about the revenues, because the revenues, all our cabin revenues go back into the general fund now. Possibly, if we could keep those cabin revenues into our capital account to use, one, to pay this back if you did decide to loan us some money to help pay for it, and two, for future major cabin expenses, whether, we had to put a roof on something, buy some new appliances, flooring, we would have a funding source there where we wouldn't have to come out of our general basic account, for that kind of stuff. Just, if you build enough up in there and the need was there for another cabin, maybe you could build another cabin down the road somewhere. I guess that, other than your general day-to-day cleaning kinds of expenses, any major expenses could come out of that, so, that's an option too.
Jason, on the cabin that you have now, what does that roughly generate in a year's time, roughly?
This is kind of what I pass these around to you. You got the last 5 years for the one we have now, and preface that by saying that one's only open during the summer months. We closed that one down. This one would have the option of being open year-round if we see fit, I guess. That shows you, we average about a 60% occupancy in that one. And we do already, just even the rumors running around that we're gonna have a second cabin, we do have a few people already that have put their name on a list if we get it done for next summer, that are wanting to rent it, so, because the current cabin we have is rented out for the specific dates they want, so. But you're looking at $4,500 to $5,500 annually. And I did go back and kind of, I think Neil asked kind of what our expenses were in that cabin. I did go back and kind of dig through some electrical bills, just because electricity costs would be probably our main one. And like I said, that meter that runs that cabin runs several other parts of the park too. So I kind of did some breakdown of that a little bit, as close as I could get. I'm estimating about $75 a month is what that includes. Electricity, water, doesn't use a whole lot of water, but and then, you know, cleaning supplies and that kind of stuff, so.
What is the amount of your final Tegas payment?
Last time I checked with Heritage Foundation, it'd be about $68,000.
Well,
There was gonna be some closing costs and stuff in there.
Yeah. Part of why I suggested, mentioned that I didn't think we'd have any problem with the loan is because the Tegas property is, I understand you want to pay that off. I think that's good business.
Mhm.
But next year, and the years after, you won't have that reoccurring expense, you know?
Correct.
And I thought if a loan, if you not have that, you could probably pay it off. So that was my, part of my thought process on loaning you the money as opposed to making an outright contribution.
Sure.
And then, of course, we just got our sheet here, I think there's 101,000 in your capital account at the end of last month. So that would be a suggestion I would have, is to loan you the amount that you want at a very reasonable interest rate.
And like I said, we're not, we won't obviously do anything with this till spring, so we don't need a decision today. I just wanted to make sure you had the new numbers and maybe discuss a little bit of how we wanted to get this project done, so.
But you are gonna need a decision to move on at some point here, and
Correct, that's
sooner the
all,
better.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
not today maybe, but.
I'm good with making a decision today on it. I mean, when you first floated this to us late summer, I mean, I think we're all in agreement, let's, move forward with it. And I know we were using rough numbers.
Yes.
It seemed as though, and again, I don't put any words in anybody's mouth, but I thought we were fairly open to the idea of a contribution at some level, and at the very worst, a loan.
Yes.
What has your board discussed about what their expectations are from this board?
Any help would be greatly appreciated. I mean, obviously, I think they would rather see a contribution. I think their thoughts are, since the county is receiving the revenues off of our cabin, that they would rather see a contribution. If it's a loan, I think they would rather see maybe the cabin revenues or a portion of the cabin revenues come back to our capital. One, to pay off that
Sure.
loan. Two, to have, future funding there to pay for bigger
Yeah.
projects. If the cabin we have, the current cabin, if it needs a new roof, rather than,
Right.
coming out of our general basic building maintenance, we'd have a source there, the
Right.
cabin revenues paying for the cabin,
Yeah.
so to speak, so.
I, for one, just don't think it would be wise for you to, spend all 51 to pay this on your own, particularly
Well, I
this
don't
year.
wanna
and
get in that
sp-
position
I mean,
if
you're
I don't
gonna
have
have
to.
some playground expense, you're gonna have some campground expense.
Exactly.
You're gonna have maybe another small cabin expense. I mean, there's always something that needs to meet the demands of that capital fund, so.
Well, and that's why I say, could we? Yes.
Yeah,
Do I wanna get
right.
in that position?
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
You don't want to get yourself in that kind of corner.
No, and I don't, but I still think it's a worthwhile project to get done, and,
Sure.
it gives us something that people want, and I think, obviously, we've got people calling already wondering about it, so, that people want and need, and I think it'll be good for the lake and
Absolutely.
our department as a whole, and the county as a whole, but, I guess that's where I'm at as far as what we wanna do as far as your contribution, what you want to do with the revenues going forward.
Dean, what are your thoughts? You've sat in on some of these
Well,
discussions more so than us.
Yeah,
so-
you know, and I think a contribution would be nice, but I'd be okay with a loan as well for you guys. But I really think that going forward, if they could have the money off the rentals, I think that I would promote that. And the reason I say that is I think it's going to be successful. I think you did talk about maybe doing something with the old cabin that you have in the future and make that more accessible and more, you know, and with the possibility of, I think it's going to be a successful thing, and I think there's going to be money available there to build additional cabins. I was at Backbone State Park last spring, and I think they've got like, I mean, it's the oldest state park in the state of Iowa, but they've got like, I'm saying close to 20, 25 cabins. And you drive down there, you know, sometimes they're all filled up. And my son, who lives a short distance from there, says, you have to get in there a year ahead of time to get at one of those cabins. And so I think Jester Park is the same. I think they're very successful, and White Rock has a couple cabins. Or Yellowstone, I think it is.
Yellowstone,
Yeah,
yes.
Yellow Smoke it
Yeah,
is,
seven
yeah.
of 'em.
So I guess that's what my thoughts are, is to, you know,
Well, and going forward, you know, the cabin we have now, obviously, you know, as you guys all know, it was the old concession stand, and, you know, it's gonna be in the same position as the North Shelter, and a lot, you know, it's very
Different age.
aging very rapidly, and at some point, you know, if we get this other one online and going, where we could, if we had a funding source, that we could go back and take that one out and put a new one there, or, you know, something.
Well, or build one first and then take it out.
Exactly, but, you know, because
So you keep funding.
the life expectancy of that one, you know, isn't that much longer, and that's kind of why we've always been looking at another cabin. But I think the demand is there for our park at least, for two for sure. And, you know, then we'll see how that goes. You know, I don't want to build a ton of cabins and then find out that only 3 of them get used. You know, I don't want to get in that position either.
Sure.
Just so you
No,
know, the
I don't
demand
think
is
so.
there ahead of time, but I think we're to that point, and, you know, the one we've got now isn't, you know, long for the world anyway, because it was kind of a patched together job. People love it, but it was kind of a patched together job when we moved the concession stand into the education center, so.
I'm like Mark, I thought we were talking like doing a both deal of contribution and loan.
That's,
What were you thinking, Mark? Like,
Well, I knew that was coming, but.
You know, and I don't know neither.
I don't think I've got a really hard number, but I'm certainly open to an outright contribution and then carrying the balance by, you know.
that's kind of
Where
where
a
I'm
reasonable
leaning
rate
at
too.
right now, maybe 5 or 10,000 maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
I was
pay for
thinking maybe 5, if you're looking at.
pay for the move,
10,
for sure.
Total 10 would probably keep you from getting into trouble,
As far as,
if between loan and contribution.
well, yeah, that would,
I kind of lean toward that.
You thinking 10 grand?
5
for
or
a
10, whatever.
For what?
Well, either-
Contribution or?
Contribution and then loan the remainder.
Loan.
A $5 or $10
Loan.
donation, and then loan for the remainder.
So between the two of them, maybe 20,000 or 25, is that what you're thinking?
Well, I was thinking, my thought was like maybe a $5,000 contribution, loan the rest.
Yeah, that would work.
My perspective, I'd like to keep the contribution part pretty small, and I'm gonna back up just a little bit. This capital funds that conservation has was not always there. It used to be the conservation had come to ask us for everything. And conservation is a unique situation. They have some income deriving property. In addition to camping, you have cash rent from the farm. And you asked to have that put in a capital fund so that you wouldn't have to come and ask us for everything. And we agreed to that, and it's worked out very well. And we knew that something big might come up where this capital fund may not handle it all, and that's where we're at now. But just doing the numbers, you have a $68,000 final payment on this Teague property, and then those payments go away.
correct.
So that is why I think we should be really heavy on the loan and light on the contribution, because their repayment capacity is gonna be very good without draining their capital funds down to zero. And I don't wanna drain it down to zero either, but, if it wasn't zero, we'd be right where we are today with this extra amount. You'd be asking for it's more money. So I am hesitant to give any outright contribution. If I do, I'd want it to be a very small amount. I am very agreeable to doing a loan, and that amount I'm quite flexible on.
And I agree with everything that you said. My only thought as far as doing the contribution is it will be a revenue-producing vehicle, rather than just a monument to society. Because it's a revenue producer, that's why I'm interested in perhaps participating, even fundamentally, but it's gonna turn some revenue back.
The opposite argument is also true, where many departments who provide services to our taxpayers don't have the ability to raise very much revenue. Those are the ones that need
Right.
the contribution, not
Right.
more so than the ones that have
Right.
some repayment ability.
That's
So
true.
that is my, also why I'm on the loan side more than the contribution side.
Do you think you could go along with a $5,000 donation and then carry the balance?
100% loan, I know what to go for, I can tell you that right now. But, I don't have any issue with that at all. And we could have very little repayment capacity, maybe not even require it all, have a very open repayment schedule, very flexible repayment schedule, and it wouldn't all have to be paid in 1 year perhaps. And that's what people do, like in the car business. If the income isn't right up front, they stretch it out. Isn't that what I read on the advertisements, they stretch out the payments. So I'd be willing to do that.
That's
as
why we
well.
can't trade you out of it in 2 years.
And,
You're still
yeah,
paying
You
us.
just stretch out the payments, I know. So, that's my thoughts, and whether you guys agree or disagree, that's fine.
So what about the repayment vehicle? How do you see that as coming back to, right now, what is the percentage that comes back to
The
the general fund?
As
Okay.
far as
Is the cabin rentals?
It all comes through.
It all
Okay.
comes back.
Okay, I've looked back, now I'm gonna look forward. If and when we make contribution and/or loan, where would that come from? I think we talked about local option sales tax maybe, and I'm a little bit protective of that because I want to save that for mental health. But if it was a loan as opposed to a contribution, I would be okay because it would get
Replenished. But I mean, I
Replenished.
guess, my point is that, right now, the money from the rentals is coming back to the general fund. And you're saying you'd like to maybe flip that and have it come back to the
Well,
conservation
that would
to be
aid-
used to build some of that capital fund is.
Correct. That
Right?
That would give us a revenue source for paying this back, plus, I'm more looking at future, I guess. Yes, paying this back, and once we get off the Tigas property, yeah, we'll have money to pay that back. But I guess I'm looking forward down the road when this our current cabin, whether that one has to go away and we build a new one there, or, any major expenses, kind of like our shower houses in the campground. We get to keep part of our camping revenues for campground improvements. We built 2 brand-new shower houses, which didn't have to come out of the general fund at all. So I guess I'm looking at that, a similar situation for our cabins, especially if we get 2 cabins, there could be the potential for more expense there. If we need to put a $10,000 roof on one, we've got it sitting there in capital, and we don't have to, budget for it out of our general basic, just a thought.
Could that decision be made at budget time? Or you want it in on this decision?
Me?
Yeah, as far as, and my thoughts is I think moving forward that isn't, that's certainly, I would find that to be acceptable, but as long as it would reduce their annual tax asking.
That's what, if they could fund themselves,
Yeah.
that would be the way I would really like to get
Makes
to.
perfect good sense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Plus, that makes them work harder and make good decisions going forward if they want to build that second or third cabin.
Right.
That's where I'm coming. As far as, I don't think it has to be made today, but,
Yeah.
Were you at,
But
were
you
you
know,
look-
it's the same way with the trail, obviously that
Right.
trail revenues go back into capital, so when we did the trail project, that
Mhm.
came out of capital from trail fees. and-
Yeah, because you'll be responsible for the maintenance.
Our maintenance, our
Right.
maintenance on the trail, the mastic leveling we're doing on the remaining asphalt portion that's coming out of trail revenues, so, just a similar situation,
Sure.
I guess.
Offhand, Jason, do you know what your annual payments are for farm, land, cash rent?
We'll find out tonight, and we're opening.
You're gonna open bids,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll know that.
So I don't know what that'll change to.
Okay. Well, is this board willing to make a decision today, or do we want to discuss this further? I agree with you, I agree with the option of whether they keep or put the rent into the general fund could be made at budget time, because that's a give and take situation. It would affect your funding, and Dean's makes a good point at that it increases your accountability or your incentive, but it would also decrease your general fund contribution. And does this board agree that where this money would come from? I mentioned local option.
Definitely.
I believe that was the discussion. Was there any other?
Economic development.
Was
Yep,
there
absolutely.
any other source that was brought up? Okay, got that handled.
Do you want to discuss this with your board tonight and then come back with what you would, I think we're agreed to make some kind of motion probably to the effect that there will be a small donation maybe, and, that's what I would make, and then what kind of balance,
Loan the remainder.
yeah, what that balance would be. Do you want to discuss that, or are you ready,
Okay.
prepared to make that?
I mean, I can
That's
discuss
That's
it
not,
tonight.
that's still our decision, not.
Yeah, but
Theirs.
yeah, as far as the amount of, they want to leave in their capital fund and what they're going to borrow.
Well, I think,
I guess
I think
that-
that, my thought was, after we give the donation, that we would, of course, within reason, but that loan, we're not gonna set the balance on that, because there's gonna be some variables in that project.
Sure.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that, Mark?
Sure, we.
But I
can-
mean, within reason, I'm not gonna give them
Yeah.
50,000, but.
Yeah, we know
Give
it's
up
gonna be a
to-
minimum
Yeah.
of the balance, and then, I would be agreeable to a very nominal rate. What have we done with Maple River and some of these others? It's been 2.5%, 3% tops, hasn't it?
It's 3.
3?
But I think inside of our other ones, when we've borrowed in the past, we've never charged you interest that way.
Or charge any interest?
I'm not sure.
And that's
I
a
don't think-
40-year note versus.
Oh,
maybe
sure.
And that's a little
Right.
different situation.
Maybe do a 5.
I'm fine with moving forward
I am
on it
too.
today.
Yeah, I'm fine too.
Um,
Yep.
I'd like to see it.
You know,
paid
if you
back
guys
within
wanna
a
put it
couple
off.
years at the most.
I'm ready to go do it.
Then you talking a 0% loan?
I mean, they're gonna probably pay it back in a couple of years.
At the-
What are we gonna charge? They got 10,000, 2%, ain't worth arguing.
So just principal
Yeah.
only?
Yeah, I mean.
I'm okay.
Part of us.
We're talking a pretty nominal amount.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion then, that we would contribute $5,000 to the project. That'll pay for the septic system. And then the balance at whatever final amount to be estimated in and around $45,000 at 0% over 2 years, 2 budget years.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to contribute $5,000 to this new cabin project, and also loan the balance at 0% interest for 2 years. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Mhm.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'm just going to reiterate my previous thing. I think this could be easily handled on a loan-only basis. I do agree that I think it's a good project, and to be successful, I just oppose the contribution part. Okay, is there any other discussion on this motion? Okay, then I'll go ahead and call for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Aye. Okay. All right.
Can you clarify where those monies will come from?
Local option.
Local option, sales
Yeah.
tax.
All right, should we make that, is that agreeable to everybody? We have a
Yeah.
local option
Yes.
as part of the motion.
Part of the motion,
Part of
yeah.
the explanation of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was the full intent. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I want to bring
Thank
one
you,
more
too.
thing up while you're here. And I gave Jason a call, and I called Dean. Actually, I went out to Maple River and drove by, and it appeared quite a bit the same, but actually, quite a bit has been done out there. And the reason I did that is our 90 days to get that taken care of is like up on the 15th. But Jason seems to be pretty pleased with the progress out there. Do you want to explain that briefly?
Sure. The one brother, Richard Lowe, has been kind of cleaning. He doesn't live around here, but he's been coming back on weekends. I think most of that area was kind of his project, so to speak, all that stuff got over there. So he's been coming back on the weekends, cleaning up. What they've got done, they had, the rail cars were still in that fenced-in area, a bunch of lumber and junk, and they've cleaned that all up. Everything within that fenced area is cleaned up and looks fairly well. We had Mike Semke come back out and resurvey it, so we know where the exact boundary line is now. And he was gonna get the fence down yet this fall, but I think winter got here before he could get there. But everything inside, you drive by, you still see the fenced-in area, but the rail containers are gone. All the stuff inside the fenced-in area is cleaned up. So I guess I'm fairly happy that we've got that far. And like I talked with Neil, I don't know that unless the board wants to, we really need to push the 90-day thing. I think they'll probably finish it up in the spring. We're moving in the right direction compared to what we have been over the last.
There's not
couple
much you're gonna
years.
be doing between now and then anyway with the
No,
property.
No, well, like I said, we wouldn't be doing
Yeah.
anything till next year anyway, so
Yeah.
as far as it sits, as far as I'm concerned, I'm fine with where it's at.
It'd be nice to be able to hit the ground running once the robins fly again, but now you got other projects
Well,
too
there's
that's
always stuff that
gonna be
comes in.
spread thin,
Yeah,
so.
sure.
If you're happy, we're happy.
Okay.
Right.
There is a container back there yet? Is that's on the railroad property, is that
They
correct?
did move a few items back further.
Further back?
but Unless the railroad wants to do something with that, and they don't seem to.
So I mean, we don't wanna
It's
say
not-
that,
it's
well,
not
they
on
didn't clean
county
everything up
property.
because there's still some stuff there, but that's not our property, so.
That's railroad property.
Mhm.
Neil, I did mention to Jason before too, I see in the bills there was a bill in there for locate, and I said they should check with secondary roads because they've got that equipment now.
Oh.
Remember we purchased that new locate?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
My thought is there any other departments that would have
Need for that?
Environmental, maybe?
That's the only one I could think of.
You might want to let them know that if you could, okay? So
Very good.
we just will use this equipment
You
we've
bet.
got.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No sense
Absolutely.
putting
Yeah,
bills
that's a good
in.
deal.
All right.
All right.
Right. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys
Thanks,
very much.
Jason.
Merry
Appreciate it.
Christmas.
Thank you.
You too.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you.
See you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Carroll Historical Society, and their F-18 funding. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Barb.
Good morning.
Morning, Barb.
Morning, Barb.
Nice brisk morning.
Sure is.
We've had a busy year. We've tried a few new things. I want to hand out our hider brochures. I think I have enough for everyone. I hope I do. Let's see, 1915 hider tractor. It has the history of it. It was actually running on the ground up at Albert City in August. Took it off the trailer and had it running. So that was
Cool.
a fun thing to do. Unfortunately, the only person we have that can
Tires
haul
are
that
bald.
tractor around had a bit of a farm accident, but he's up to speed again.
Got the winter
and,
studs on.
We've been asked to have it at Manning for their 100th celebration of the farmstead up there, so we'll be ready to go for that. Okay, we completed a few ideas this May. We actually had school at the schoolhouse. And that was a lot of fun. We had a student teacher running that. The kids came. I had homeschool kids come, so we had different ages there. So that was a really neat thing to do. We also tried the open house at all 4 sites, and it worked. It was a little bit hectic at times, but we had a lot of people that went from place to place, didn't just stop at the museum and then go home. So we had a lot of people come to that. We had about 150 people, which was triple what we usually get at an open house, keeping in mind that we had people sign up at each place, you know. So that was kind of neat to do. We had one meeting in Lanesboro, and that's a project I want to keep going, have at least one board meeting in another town in the county, and we've had now in Ralston and Lanesboro. It's time to move west. And I'm thinking Breda, but we'll have to see. to see how that works. As I mentioned, we had the Hyder tractor at Albert City. That was a really fun thing. It was awfully muddy because they just had 4 inches of rain the day before. But Dale's kind of sorry he turned the lugs around because the way the tractor is with the lugs, you couldn't run it on cement. But those lugs would have helped on that mud. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. Still doing the German lessons. We tried the program. We got a grant from Iowa Humanities. We only had to pay $50 for Dan Karcher's program. It was a wonderful, wonderful program that he gave. You missed it. He's going to be in Manning in January.
Who was that again?
Dan Karcher. He was Iowa's Simple Pleasures on public TV. He was editor-in-chief of Midwest Living. It wasn't a very happy day for us because, of course, that was Eva Wiedemeyer's funeral. We lost her. She was 101. Great supporter. She was active right to the very end. So, and then about 2 weeks later, we lost Annie Lichty, our second oldest member after Eva. So we took quite a hit in November. I'm also going to St. Lawrence Middle School. I'm teaching Iowa history just twice a quarter. And I'm concentrating on local history. The first class deals with the Indians and the pioneers, and then towards the end of the quarter, I do business and industry, just local history. So that's been a fun thing too. So the kids are really interested. We have their complete attention during that time. We're doing the regular things. I only gave one talk this last year, and that was to the Rotary, but it was a lot of fun. I did a trivia game with them, so that worked rather well. We're still selling calendars. 1 year's gone now, but we're still getting a few sold. We lowered the price a little bit, and we did our tip night at Pizza Ranch, so that worked well. And then one of our board members suggested gift certificates for membership. Our membership drive went well. I'll just pass them around this way if you want to look at them. We had 40 people, which was a great increase, about what it would be average from years back. So that worked rather well. So, and we sold a couple of these. It's on Facebook. We're trying to get word of mouth too. So it's a good gift idea for either Christmas or birthdays or whenever. So everything else, our schoolhouse, we've done some improvements on that. One of our board members, Denny Shirk, built shelves in the entryway, which is nice now as we're getting more kids in for programs. And the new door is an outside door now, and he put a neat handle on it, so that's been improved. Trapper's cabin is still in very good shape. And Farmstead Barn will need some work on that, and Jason talked about putting a new roof on it this spring. It's time for a new roof, and some sill work on it, kind of closing up some of those holes. The mice don't have to break stride. I mean, they can get right in. So hopefully that's going to be improved. So like I said, we've been busy, we've tried new things. We're not asking for an increase. If we could have the same 4,000, it would be greatly appreciated.
How is this gonna work?
Unless you want to use it.
How is it,
I'll-
how is this gonna work? How does this work?
Well, if people want to give a membership as a gift, we pull this out for them, they pay us,
Oh,
and we send it to them. Yeah, it's not, it's whatever membership level, it's just a way to maybe increase the
Donation.
membership by someone giving a gift of a membership, and then of
Oh, I
course-
see, gotcha.
Yeah, and
Okay,
of course,
a
we
gift
would
of a
contact them
membership.
every year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoy that calendar. It's, yeah, I see it's half over with, and every month they had like a different town or something, and different
Mhm.
days, different things happen.
It was fun to
Interesting.
do. The interesting thing, the Preservation Commission did the city calendar, which is now run out, and I've gotten requests for, is there another calendar coming?
Okay.
I just moved mine last night.
Took a lot of work to put that together.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have to thank Vicki Gadd, she does a tremendous job for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we've heard their request, and we'll approve all of these or consider them all at budget time, and I appreciate you asking for the same amount. 4,000 is what you've gotten previously in several. Any other questions for Barb other than?
What is your memberships run a year?
10 for individual,
And families,
25. There's a business member for 35, and then patron for 50, and then the pioneer membership, which Eva had donated for the last 10 years, $500.
that's a what?
Pioneer membership. Then you get your name
10,
engraved.
10 for single?
10 for individual, 25 family, 35 business,
Okay, I got it now.
and patron is 50. We eliminated the life membership last year. Most organizations are.
Okay.
Well, appreciate all your efforts, Barb.
Yes.
Thank you. It's interesting work.
Yeah.
Really is. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you too, Barb. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Wish you the same.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave, you're here. Secondary roads is next on the agenda. I don't think we're gonna get your stuff.
I mean, if we're done,
I don't remember what they are.
That's a good point.
not a bad idea.
Okay.
Then some of these I can fill in.
Okay. That's a good point. We'll take care of you. Okay, go ahead, Dave, you've got utility
I've got
permits here.
One utility permit.
Hi, Dave.
from Windstream. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Windstream.
Windstream, it's quite thick. It's an optic fiber. It's coming out of Coon Rapids up to, what is that, let's say E63. Is that E63 or is that E16 down there? That road? 330th Street.
B63.
Over to the County Line Road, and then south on the County Line Road down at Poet. Apparently they're
Okay.
getting optic fiber from Coon Rapids, internally in Coon Rapids from Windstream there.
They're going north and around and then back south
Yeah,
to get to Fort.
to get to Poet, yeah. So it's, there's,
Well, it's either north or south, you know, I mean, there's kind of in the middle out there.
Around the river. To get around the river.
showing the individual sheets coming out of Coon Rapids, up and around the curves there. On 330th Street, over to the county line, and down there, and over into Guthrie County and Poet.
Mhm.
A lot of sheets. It looks like they're putting it mostly at the right-of-way line, except up in and around here, because there's not much of a right-of-way line. Looks kind of like down in the road ditch. And I guess that's probably good to have it out the right-of-way line.
Okay, that's different what I was looking at, okay.
When I first looked at this,
That
I
makes
was-
more sense to me.
I was
I
kind of
thought you were talking
confused.
about going a couple miles north.
Yeah,
You know, this would be
What do
by
they
that
do at the-
Sunderberg or whatever.
Bridge, yeah.
shooting underneath the.
Over and under.
Yeah,
Are they gonna go on the north side or south side of that road?
looks like the south side, yeah, the nice side that washes. Hopefully they'll get it good deep in the road ditch.
I think we're gonna get some feedback there.
What is this road? Is that a road right there? Right here?
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that little gravel road that comes out of Coon Rapids, that extension of Main Street.
This is dirt over here.
And then it
Oh, it's dirt?
turns to
Yeah.
dirt over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't want to go down that road.
No. No, I think right there at that T intersection there, it turns to dirt this last mile.
Okay.
Kind of wish they would have went down that road.
Well,
because
and that's where,
couldn't
what's
save
her name,
themselves
what's her name is? And this person from Auto
Always excited to see more optic fibers. It just makes it harder to clean ditch.
Mhm.
It's getting to be quite a challenge anyway.
Oh.
Windstream's a pretty good company. They've treated us pretty decent, don't have road
Well, do
presence,
they go down in the ditch, or do they go along the shoulder? A lot of them are going along the shoulder for the very
Well-
reason that they don't have to, when you come cleaning
They're
ditches.
going at the back of the right-of-way line on this one. I'm not sure where the street stretch is, but it's out on 330th there, but they're off the pavement, down in. at
Down in the
right-of-way
ditch.
line,
Yeah.
And usually we have them go up on the shoulder. That could have some future issues too, just no matter where you go, there's
Yeah.
trouble anymore. They have
Yeah, I
trouble.
think the shoulder was a good idea in the past, but,
Yeah.
Out your tile and no shoulders, it's not such a good idea.
or extending the shoulders.
That's exactly it, yeah. And if they go too far out on the shoulder, they create actually a fault where sometimes the shoulder actually sloughs.
Mm.
But that's where you'd like them if you were tiling the shoulder.
Private right of ways, the best place to put it.
Yeah.
But
Some other county would be nicer, yeah. But yeah, we spend a tremendous amount of time locating these things to do a little bit of work.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility permit.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the utility permit for Windstream. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dave, do you have anything else for us today?
At the county engineers conference last week, and the big thing, and it was a little bit at ISAC too, was talking about the federal swap. Taking federal aid comes into the DOT, and actually the DOT gets allocated all of our federal aid allocation, both the bridge money and the STIP money that goes to Region 12 that we sub-allocate out of there. They're actually good enough to give that back to the counties. The commission actually does that. They give a small portion of that federal aid money back to the counties. You know, we've been building bridges with it over the years, and doing probably asphalt resurfacing with the Region 12 money, most of it. They're talking about swapping those federal funds that they give us for state aid funds, for state money, which wouldn't have all the federal
Steps on it,
requirements.
yeah.
And it's something that we've hoped for years. We don't really know. We think everybody is going to be pretty interested in it now with the last election, the way things have changed there. They may be interested in doing that. And so they're going to propose it. And they have to change the Iowa code first because the DOT can't pay counties directly out of the primary road fund. They're not allowed to do that. And so they have to get that allowance made, I think it's 314, the Iowa code, where they can do that. And then once they can do that, that'll go to the commission and probably the counties, and they'll decide just how to go about doing it. If we're interested, sounds like it could be a dollar for dollar thing. Could eliminate just volumes of paperwork. Could, depending upon how they do it.
Marty, we're gonna claim yours and before you go.
I can do that.
So everybody was pretty excited about that, but we don't really know where it's gonna go yet. We're excited that it could happen.
And that's on a federal level, so,
Actually,
Is
it's
it
on their
state?
level, because they get the money, and they give us the money now. They give us a portion of money, they give us our bridge replacement money, which amounts to about $30 million a year. I'm not sure what the STIP money amounts to, but it's a good chunk of money. But they actually give us that money back to the locals where they wouldn't have to, so they're, but instead of us getting it as federal aid with those requirements, we would get it as regular road use tax, as state aid with less requirements as far as the spending.
sounds smart.
No, it does sound smart, yeah, it would eliminate a lot of extra work on both the county's part and the state part, because they have to police us and make sure that we expend the funds properly.
And that wage stuff.
Yeah, the date's taken,
Mhm.
that would be upon them.
I like it.
I do too.
Yeah. So let's, you know, I don't know if we'll have to lobby our legislatures. I don't really think we probably will. I think it kind of sounds like that's pretty positive. And then it'll be the DOT, the commissioners. They told us not to be lobbying them yet.
Have they named a new director yet, the DOT?
No.
Yes.
Well, an interim
Interim.
director.
Mark Lowe.
Mark Lowe.
Oh, Mark Lowe will be the interim.
Yeah.
Okay.
say he's really good, from what I heard.
Yeah, we've got Mark in here.
Yeah.
He's good to us, I think.
Yeah.
You guys know him from the driver's
Mhm.
license thing, right?
Okay.
Do you know anything about that? That's,
Not
that's,
really very much, but this is,
that's gas tax money.
yeah. We pay about $3,000 a year on our fuel depot insurance fund for PIMIC.
Well, yeah, you're gonna pay that anyway, but this is the tax that everyone pays, that 1 penny. It's gonna go away. I mean, does the DOT ever, I forgot to ask him about that. He would have been this perfect guy to ask. I'll cover it with the community, or with my committee reports, but,
I think that's when you buy a transport load, we get a 1 cent charge on that, so I think that probably will.
is gonna go away.
Yeah.
But is that a cleanup fund?
Yeah,
What is it?
cleanup fund.
That's super fund.
Yeah.
Mhm. I was just wondering if, I mean, that's,
Says something about transferring funding for existing claims to private party to protect the money from being diverted.
right.
Yeah.
There's a
no,
fund there, and I think the DNR is gonna get the fund
Mhm.
and be able to keep it.
Be something we know about too, wouldn't it,
Yeah.
from the gas station.
Unfortunately,
We all had the
yes.
same.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. We all had a lot of nice experiences in the 90s with that underground storage.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
you
good
stopping
week.
in.
Do you wanna visit with Earl sometime this week?
Sure.
Maybe Wednesday or Thursday? I'll get ahold of you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Stay warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, well, why don't we go down to number 8 real quick here, which is FY18 Department Budget Assignments. And this is where we each do our preliminary. Do you have a list of them there?
I do, it's a messy one. I'd be happy to give it to you if you wanna go through it.
Yeah,
It's just
that way I
not
won't,
real clean, but you're welcome to use that if you'd like to maybe take
Okay.
a look. I didn't have on there who did who last year, but the year before is on there.
Okay, all right, I'll just go right down the list here. Marty's got to leave here in just a minute, but let's see where you were, Marty. In 2016, I believe it was that way last year, the recorder was, it says Danzer and Beardmore, is that correct?
Oh,
Recorder? Pre-budget?
I don't think I did recorder.
I did recorder.
Did I do recorder?
I think you and I did it. for
Yeah, I
some
think
reason.
I know
yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be Marty and Dean, is that okay
Yep,
this year?
that's
Just-
fine.
That's fine.
Okay, trying to find out, I'm hunting for you, Marty.
Okay.
And treasurer, it was Dean and Marty there also, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then the sheriff was Marty and Gene.
Yeah.
Okay, where else are you here? Secondary roads, it was
That was
Marty
us
and
too.
Gene.
No, that wasn't
Oh,
me.
Okay, last year?
No, I don't think so.
Well, actually, I'm going off the 2016 list, so I'm gonna be
Okay, well, it
wrong.
was Marty, that's fine.
Yeah, Gene and I.
So this year it will be Marty and Gene?
Okay.
That's fine.
I'm not trying to dictate, I'm just trying to get
Sure.
it done here, and if it should be different. And ambulance, we had Mark and Marty there.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Okay.
But are you expecting that to get done in December?
Probably not. So we'll just substitute
Richard?
Rich for that. Okay, and then conservation. Did you have that last year?
Dean and I did that last year.
Dean? Okay. Okay.
How many did you have last year? It looks like you're pretty heavy here.
6 of them.
Okay.
Everybody has to work for money.
It is what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna go, back
Usually
to
we
the.
had 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I think everybody else had
Seems about
5.
right.
Gonna go to the top of the list there, which, A as an auditor. I think Gene and Mark had that
That's
last year.
correct. Mhm.
So we'll do Gene and Rich. And then environmental health, Dean, did you have that last year?
Dean and me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll put Dean and Rich there then. Shout out if anything should be done differently. GIS IT.
Dean and me.
It was me.
Was it
I don't
you?
think I was.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
it was you.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
sorry.
I was.
So.
I'm sorry, it
I'll
was
do
you.
that with Rich. And then Veterans Fair. I thought I did that with you last year, didn't I? But I have your name down. Do you last year? Okay.
Yeah.
I did must, okay.
I think you were.
Gene, we'll do it again then. Is that all right, Gene?
Yeah.
And then you and I also on general assistance. And then county attorney was Mark and I.
Yeah.
So we'll put Rich on that one. And case management was myself.
And me.
So we'll put Rich on that. And Board of Health, it was Dean and myself.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. And I think that's everybody on your list.
Okay.
Thank you, Marty.
Yeah. On that one, I marked them on there.
Okay.
Just leave that at my place.
I wanted to take care of this while Marty was still here.
Sure.
I knew we had to
Yep.
leave it
Nope.
right now. So, okay.
Nope, that's fine.
And I
Um,
can make a clean list and give one to everybody. I'll just email it, that way everybody.
That'd be great.
has the list.
That'd be great.
So you guys have a good week.
See you, Marty. You
See you,
too. Stay
Marty.
warm.
Have a good one.
That along too? Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I just want to skip down there for,
Sure.
due to Marty's presence. Okay, we'll follow the agenda now. Number 5 is Class B beer. permit.
Should we do number 4?
Number 4, yes. What did I just say?
You said number 5, Class B.
No, I said we do them in order, didn't I? Okay.
In your order, that's fine.
4 is set public hearing for FY 17 budget amendment. Courtney, you want to explain that to us, please?
Not really, but I will. After you guys approved the ambulance purchase, I got to looking and realized that I budgeted the ambulance in general basic for the money going into capital, but I never budgeted the money going out of capital to actually write the check for the ambulance. So that's kind of why we're doing one in December. Normally we would do a budget amendment in December. But since the ambulance purchase was approved, he'll be needing to write a check for that at the end of the month, so. I gave everybody a list here. I'll just be looking at this sheet here. Just kind of explain. So that's the main reason we're doing it now. Since we are doing one now, the board also approved that SANS warranty for the IT department. So I've included that. Carl wasn't sure when that bill would come due, but I figured since we were doing one, we might as well include it. So that's the amount the board approved to spend for that warranty on those, I believe they're servers. And then I also included some revenue in there from a grant that the sheriff's office received. So you can see the cost to general basic to fund that IT SANS warranty is $13,524. I did send a request out to all department heads if they had anything. So you'll see moving down capital projects, conservation, they need to replace the furnace at Great Western Park. So he wanted a budget for the $4,500 out of his capital fund.
Okay.
And of course, Great Western Park's one of those that the revenues and expenses all come out of capital. But he hadn't budgeted for that kind of an expense this year. So that only affects his capital fund. And then moving down, you see the ambulance, $183,060. That's the cost of the board approved purchase. And then the $17,000 is just money that was budgeted in general basic for medical equipment. I also wanted a budget for the expense on the capital side. There's nothing been approved or purchased at this time, but if you budgeted for it on the general basic side, I figured we better do it on the capital side in case there was a purchase made. Otherwise, we'll be doing another amendment, even though it was approved in the original budget to be transferred to capital.
So you're just putting it in there?
I'm
Yeah.
putting it in there, I've accounted for the revenue, I just want to account for the
Right.
expense in case
Yep.
he needs to buy a new cot or something like that. That way it can come out of his capital and it won't come out of the general fund. So a majority of these expenses, as you can see, are ambulance-related
Sure.
expenses. Those monies will be coming out of the ambulance's capital fund. So on the actual amendment, you can see that it's gonna affect the fund balances, $204,560 in capitals fund, and then just $13,524 in the general fund. So not a big change. Like I said, when we did the fiscal 17 budget, I made the mistake and did not budget for the expense on the capital side. So this is basically, for the most part, correcting that error. There are some other minor things.
Cleans that up.
And now we have something that was approved here. So we'll probably be doing another amendment to account for that funding for conservation, but I would think that could be done.
In the spring?
Yeah, because we'll also have to look at the treasurer's office.
So you get this published already? Or-
No,
No.
we need to set the hearing before I can publish it, but it sounded like that ambulance was gonna be ready at the end of the month, and when it's ready, we're gonna need to write a check.
Do you have a post hearing day and time?
Yes, I do, 12/27 at 10 a.m.
Unless there's any objections, I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to set
I'll second
the
that
public
motion.
hearing for the FY17 budget amendment for December 27th at 10 a.m. Any discussion?
That's discussion wise, that's what I was wondering, can we add that today in this yet, or not too late?
Well, you're getting,
Being that the ambulance was purchased from a local vendor, I have a feeling that if we're getting it before the end of the year, they're gonna want their money before the end of the year.
But I mean, you haven't had this published yet.
I have not.
So you're talking about the conservation
you're asking
thing?
about the 5,000?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna be doing something with the treasurer's office. There's gonna be one more budget amendment before July 1st.
That's true, that's true.
I would be happy to add it in there, and we certainly could, but we don't have to.
No.
I just wanted you guys to be aware that
And
even though
nothing's
we were
gonna be
doing
spent
one
till
now,
spring
there's,
anyway.
Right.
there's
Yeah.
gonna have to be another one.
Later on, we'll probably have a better idea of what the loan amount would be as well.
Sure.
That's kind of a
We can probably have a better
moving
discussion
target
about
right
that.
now. Okay. All right, any other discussion on this motion? Okay, let's vote on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion is carried. All right. Number 5. Just
There we
jumps
go.
right out- Just jumps right out at me.
Because it's beer.
Okay. Class C beer permit for Al's Corner.
I see no reason not to approve it. I'd make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that. Any discussion on
Well-
that? All in
The
favor?
date's always that way. Oh, hey, good catch. Should we change the name on the ownership? Good catch.
This comes from the state.
I don't know if they've got it changed yet.
That's
Right.
probably,
Okay.
See you later.
Probably be in the estate yet.
Yeah,
I
I would
caught
say,
that,
at
and
lea- yeah.
I seen that too.
I saw that too, and I just assumed that that's.
Yeah,
his
I'm
demise.
I'm not, yeah, I don't want to
Been that
hold up
long
the
ago.
approval
Being
process.
an estate is still in his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in his name, I assume.
I wouldn't worry about it.
well, it is a corporation, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? We do have a motion, made and seconded. All right, all in favor of the motion to say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Payables, we have payables attached.
You get a stamp on that, and I did not get a chance to.
Okay. Okay, as I get the stamp updated.
I'll go for that.
Is there any questions on the payables or any that you want to point out to us, Courtney?
I just wanted to explain that there, you probably, and I don't know if you caught it or saw it, but there's a few election workers that had their calculations incorrect on their form, so we're writing them another check for $20. It was brought to our attention that they got shorted. So,
Okay.
normally we pay our election workers once,
Yep, I remember that.
but it's hard to get them, so
That
we
list.
should make sure we're treating everybody.
Yep, that's what I was
fairly,
gonna
so.
say, make sure you're treating them right.
That was the only hiccup we had in our department.
Stamp, they're getting wore out. Huh. This stamp we purchased in 2008 is getting kind of wore out, so
We can certainly order, we'll be ordering some new ones for
we might want to
the,
budget for a new one.
Add that to the budget amendment. If there's no objections, I'd make a motion to approve payables run.
I'll second that motion.
Didn't see anything
I see
on
we
that.
bought some more workstations, huh?
Mhm.
Yes.
Or we got that thing about furnished?
I don't know.
Where was that
Full house,
at?
I would guess. All right, any other discussion on the motion to approve the payables? Okay, all in favor of the motion, then say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. I saw that, Jim. Okay, number 7, Maple River sewer fee discussion. We've had this on,
Talk to who?
Oh, wow.
I talked to her.
Well, I told you, I've talked to some of the communities and stuff, and it's hard to get a hold of some of these smaller communities, but I did get a hold of Templeton, and of course, they've never, if someone abandoned a piece of property, they quit charging them. Of course, their loan has been paid off a long time ago, but they always have had somebody come back and replace it. And I did talk to Dedham, and he said the same thing. They've just basically wrote them off, and he says, we've got some that I wish more of them would be gone. But anyway, that's aside. So I didn't get, those were the only 2 people I got a hold of. And, and then I talked to Rural Water, because they run the one in Manning, or Helder. And he said theirs is based on usage, so if there's a property that gets abandoned there, they don't have any water
There's no-
usage, so there's no charge.
Sure.
And he said that's the way, most of them that he knows of is the way they operate it, because there's some of them rural waters are also managing some of them. So then I thought, well, okay, we had a loan with USDA, that'd be probably the people talking, so I had after a long chase down, I finally go hold of this Randy Hilder, which is the director for us in this whole northwest part of the state, and he said typically, even in those small areas, he says, if you have a house that burns down or something and they quit using it, there's no charge. The common theme I heard from all these is how can you charge for something nobody's using? Which makes sense. And so then I played devil's advocate. I told this Randy, I said, well, what happens? You got a small community. Let's say we had Maple River and it's sitting down there, Tennessee, where that dang fire went through and burned everything out. We just have to eat it. It's done. It's over with. Well, development would eat it.
Well, I think there's minimum charges like electrical companies, I believe, will charge.
But I
If you've
think
got a
that-
bin site or something like that, and you don't, in the summertime, when the bin's empty, you don't use it, you still pay a minimum charge on that.
same with natural gas.
Mhm.
But
If you're not
all
using it.
these here with this sewer have basically said that's done.
because there's nothing there that's hooked to.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't contact anyone, but reading this in our ordinance that we passed, it said each user of the Maple River shall pay. And I don't think we had any intention or description of an user as that, are you a user because the service is provided or because you're actually actively using it, you know? That is what we're trying to define today. And then, of course, there was some discussion about having a reduced charge because they have there was cost to get that to the property. So,
And that's the way I explained it to all these people too, that was, those numbers were used to set that up.
You know, when you're in a city like Dedham or Templeton, I mean, you have a city council there is in charge of that, so they can kind of see what's going on in that community. But when we have, like Mount Carmel and Maple River, which are unincorporated, there's nobody watching that. I can't even tell you where that, I mean, I drove around Maple River the other day when I was talking to Irv, and I couldn't even tell you where
I couldn't either.
where that building was that was removed. So, I mean,
Okay.
there is no, what do I want to say, accountability,
Well,
from
that-
anybody as far as if somebody moved another trailer house in there tomorrow and hooked up, how would we know? How would we, that is my thing, I guess, I mean, somebody could hook that up. I mean, Irv, I asked him about how the closure went, and he says, well, it's completely sealed, so there won't be any, so I don't know how you handle that part. I guess that's we're not using it, but,
You're saying if someone else hooks up, back up to it and builds a house on there and starts using it?
yeah, I mean, they could
We
do
would
that.
We would catch that just through deeds coming through, because if any deeds come through in Maple River, Mount Carmel, we catch those in our office because
Okay.
there's new owners, and then we'll change who we're billing.
Okay,
I would assume if it was new construction, we would catch that, maybe. But there's no.
I guess that would be
guarantee.
my
There's
concern,
no
I guess.
guarantee.
I'm not, as far as the minimum charge, I get it, where if they're not using it, they shouldn't
Well,
have
and
to
that's
pay.
why I contacted rural development, because I was running the same answer all the way through it. I thought, okay, now, they know they deal with these unincorporated areas. What's been the history in the past? And he said the same thing as what the rest of them said. And I said, then I played devil's advocate. I said, well, what happens? The whole thing burns down. His rural development, he said. And I thought, whoa. He says, we've got to do that.
Okay.
He says, you always assume somebody's gonna replace it at some point in time.
And that's a question, I ran across Irv as far as, what if you get to the point where you cannot, meet that obligation? And he said, raise the price to, So, I mean, that was his comeback. He says, there's nothing wrong with raising rates once in a while, so, I
The
mean,
thing
that
is,
is.
we do have operation and maintenance. There's some others, O&M extra money put away that's kind of set aside for updates and stuff, right?
Mount Carmel's putting money away because they're able to. Maple River's not.
That
able
adds
to.
that to.
I mean, there's some, don't get me wrong, there is some set aside if you look at your fund balances.
Yeah.
But we aren't putting any in there on a regular basis. I
Yeah.
think there's only $660.
For the Maple River Reserve Fund.
They
Sewer
just never
Reserve
had a
Fund.
lot of excess funds
No.
to be able to set money aside. And that was a requirement of USDA,
Yeah.
and when the county took, the loan over, we still do it, because I think it's a good thing, because if you would have something major happen, you would have the funding available in that, I call it like a reserve of the sewer.
So what is there's the Maple River Sewer Fund and the Reserve Fund, so what is that?
The sewer fund is where all the expenses and the fees come in and out of. That reserve fund was set up where we were supposed to put so much money away per month into a
Okay.
reserve account if something would happen. It was a USDA requirement,
Mhm.
but they were never able to pay for that. And then when the county took over the loan, it's not a requirement by us, but we still do the Mount Carmel Reserve. We've been doing that the way the USDA wanted us to.
Okay.
Because if they would have major problems, we have that money we could pull from.
Okay.
So, but do you do that with Maple River when you see some excess funds? But you could, right?
You could do whatever you wanted with it, yeah, as long as it was available. They have a bigger loan, they have a bigger payment, and they have bigger expenses over there. You're paying Jared.
Yeah,
quite
we
a
have more,
bit.
we have more expenses there.
It's just a more expensive system, so.
Okay. Well, as far as the original question is, does her, what, $55 go away or whatever it is?
That's the question, and
Yeah.
the payment was due, and I told her just to wait until you guys made a decision, and then we'd let her know, but.
I'm not concerned about that, and about the, about the possibility of the fund going broke. And I was concerned about if somebody moved in. But if you think you can catch that, then I guess I don't see any need for her to pay that if she's not using it. That'd be my position on it.
Well, you know, and I kind of, that's the way I feel. I mean, how can you charge somebody for something they're not using? But at the same time, on the other side, I see where if we need to have the money for repayment, and they're supposed to be set up to, they're supposed to generate a little extra money, so I think we'd be best off with just, like you say, I think just forget about it.
If an issue comes up, maybe we just have to raise rates or something.
Yeah.
It gets kind of sketchy. Of course, I missed out on a lot of this, but I got up to speed on it. And, you know, you get into this discussion about what's a tax and what's a user fee.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't forego their tax, you know, or is this a tax or is it a user fee? Well, it clearly is a user fee, and I can understand why we would, you know, forego, that means they're not using it, but at the same time, you know, it's.
You don't want everybody doing it.
Not that, they, you know, I mean, there's not that possibility that they would all cave in and just turn it into a ghost town, but I don't know, I'm really conflicted on this one, I really am.
Well-
I'll go along with the wishes of the board, but I
So
can
if
see a reason to keep it too.
I have this other question is that, say if this user has, has a home and then he has a shop out in back,
Pays 2 fees.
pays 2 fees on one piece of property.
We have a
for-
couple different owners there that pay $110 a month just for sewer.
Because there's 2 sewer hookups.
Yeah.
And I think that's appropriate, I mean, it's.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make that, you know, I mean, it's not just one, in some instances, it's 2.
Right.
Okay, the reason this $55 institute was 2 reasons. First of all, just the cost of maintenance and operations. And that's gonna kinda go away for this person. But the other one was to establish it and pay off the loan on it.
Right.
Which they were there.
Yep.
So for that, I would prefer to have a reduced fee for an empty and unused system.
A minimum charge?
Something like that, I'm not sure, but just something, because they're still should be responsible for the, you know, building of it and availability of it, and there's a cost to that, but they should not be responsible for the, you know, everyday maintenance when they aren't putting any, using it.
I like that thought, and that would still catch your concern.
Yeah, it would.
That if
And
somebody
that's
put a
what-
mobile home on it.
Right. You know,
So would you reduce it to
Half price or something.
$25?
Yeah, $25 would be fine, or something like that for an empty lot. And I think that's I hope it makes sense that they still need to pay for the establishment of the system and the availability of it,
Which is still yet unpaid.
which is not paid off. But we're reducing it because they aren't using it and causing any maintenance issues right now.
How many years have we got figured on this one?
I
Hmm.
wanna say it was like 40-some when
Yeah.
I started.
It's a long.
So 30 more.
Not on this one, was it?
On both.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought we had them all cut back.
This one was after Mount Carmel.
I
Yeah.
know, but, I mean, I thought when we went and financed it ourselves, that we cut the length of that loan down.
Maybe it's closer to 20 years then, I don't know. But it's a-
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
we
a
did.
lot. I don't think any of us, I didn't think I'd still be here when it got paid off,
You never know.
when I did the math. That's true.
I've seen some get paid off.
So, yeah. I can go grab the sheet if you wanna know for sure.
No,
Well, actually, I feel pretty good. We're operating under this ordinance for about 5.5 years, and this is the first issue we've had with it.
Really?
So
Yeah.
that's
Good
not
point.
too bad for putting together an ordinance for something like this.
I like your thoughts. I would be in favor of reducing it substantially and to an amount that would still be the spirit of it would be that we still have a note to pay off. And it was established when the residence was there. So reduce it to $25 a month, and it would catch any other further development there. I
Yeah,
think
that was
makes
that was
perfectly
the
good
biggest
sense.
concern that I had, and I wasn't around when this was put in place, so I guess that mindset wasn't here.
And if someone
so.
feels
Right.
something's totally new, we're gonna charge them the 55 anyway, right?
Right.
Right, it goes back up.
Right.
Well, no, I mean, some other property.
Oh, a new property.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna charge them 55 for it.
Right.
And yet they weren't included that loan, so.
Well, the
But
hookup.
I'm just trying to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know what it says because I wasn't around at that time. I don't know if there's a hookup charge, somebody builds a new house or
That's in the ordinance, it's
Yeah.
the owner's expense.
Yeah, it's
to
there.
hook it up and then the 55 kicks in once it's complete.
And this, I mean, that by no means would prevent, future rate increases at some time. I mean,
Sure.
once again, here we are 7 or 8 years later, 6 or 8 years later into it, and we still haven't raised rates.
Sure.
But I
Well,
think.
at this point in time, it affects one person.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think it affects this person a lot financially.
Then, if we do have a motion to that effect, I think we should need to make it clear that it's, if there's a house that's, say, a rental property that's empty, I think that saves 55.
No,
Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
And that's,
We're talking a true termination.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
suspension,
There's no dwelling.
A
there's
dwelling.
no dwelling
No
there.
dwelling.
Yeah. No.
So what are you thinking about for a fee then?
25 and 55, well, just 25 if there's no residence.
The one-
Just as a suggestion, we can
I-
do whatever. Is that not enough or too much, you tell me?
I think we're not getting any benefit out of that's too much yet myself, but
Okay, I'm flexible, name another amount, Gene.
I wrote down 15 here, I don't know.
Well, and I guess that's, I think Marty was we were bouncing that 15, 20, we talked about 5 or 10, but you gotta make it worth something, so.
It's a pretty good value to the lot that it's there.
Yeah.
there's
If
some
they
value
would
there.
sell the lot.
Yeah.
It is a pretty good value to it.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to incur that cost again to put that in, so yeah, you're right. I'd go with 20.
I'm good with that. It's hard to put the axe on the log, I mean, knowing how
Sure.
much of it's actually going to maintenance and how much of it's going to, the actual, the capital plus the interest.
Are we going to make a change to a covenant then?
To an
It's
ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
We'll be reviewing ordinances in January.
But we're just reaffirming what we're doing here. That's not really spelled out in that ordinance.
We can add it to it.
Yeah, we probably should, because.
I would think so, too.
Yeah.
That way it's in there.
I would move that we instruct our county attorney to amend or add to this ordinance as his discretion, the fact that there'll only be a $20 charge for lots where the residence has been removed. Some motion.
I'll second that.
That's been seconded. Okay, we have motion seconded to ask our county attorney to amend or add to this ordinance number 23 to that effect, to $20 if there's no structure on there anymore. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, let's vote on it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 3-1.
But you just wanted it 15. I mean, other than
Well,
that, or do you want it removed altogether?
I would have went along with a smaller amount, I think, but yeah, at the same time. Common theme I heard was, how can they charge something they ain't using?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna move on then.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your discussion on that. Does one of us want to contact John with that, or should we have our Courtney do that? Our secretary? Yeah,
You do it.
notify
Yeah.
John of the
Yeah.
motion, and
Yeah.
he can ask us if he has any questions. Okay. 8 is done, let's go to 9, which is appointments. Want to thank Courtney for doing this. We have several appointments we need to have done, and these do need to be done here in December so that we can make the appointments at our first meeting in January. So we'll just go down the list, everybody has the list in front of them.
Mhm.
That's confirmed already on the first one on the Board of Health. He will take that position.
Okay, that's done.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go down to the ambulance board. Who would like to contact any of those particular people?
Is that Dr. Michael?
I just gonna say, he just got a raise, didn't he? No, he just got a cut in pay.
Is that a typo?
He's not a doctor.
I'll have to tell him.
Joanne does these
I'll have to
lists.
tell him
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'll let her
Mike?
change
Mike?
He's a doctor.
Oh.
Something.
I didn't know, I didn't do the list.
I didn't even catch that, look at that.
I'll tell him that, but it'll give him a big head.
Would you prefer to call any of these guys? There is a meeting tomorrow night. I mean, I can certainly ask them there. The ambulance board appointments.
That'd be great, you could handle them all then, Mark.
I think so.
I mean, that's quite
Yeah,
convenient. no?
yeah. Mike's generally not there, but I'll try. And I'll just let you know.
Which Mike?
I'm sorry,
Slattery.
Mike Slattery's generally not there, but he might be. I'll take him. That's right.
All
What
right.
time? 5 PM, the ambulance board, at the ambulance service, 5
The
tomorrow.
ambulance building.
Mhm.
Okay. Marty will contact Ken Snyder. He claimed that one.
I can talk to Jill Spees.
Okay, Gene will do that.
She's new, isn't she? Fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I asked Marty to claim a few before he left, and he claimed P.J. Gredeman and Bill Fish here. Well, wait, we don't do that, though.
No.
They do that.
This was just, those were
The sheriff
highlighted
and the
just-
attorney needs to do those, okay?
Those were highlighted just so we could let them know that they need.
Yeah, and we don't do any of those except our current ones.
And yours
unless-
is fine.
Unless somebody wants to change our current ones. Okay, we're gonna go right ahead and then, page 3, medical examiner. We have 2 of them there. Who would like to contact either or both of those?
I've gotta talk to Mike about the ambulance, so I can talk to him about the ME.
Okay,
Michelle Heim.
Does anybody know Michelle?
I don't know her.
She works out there too.
So should I just ask at the same time?
I would, I think he's
Okay.
the one that recommended her.
Okay.
Yep.
okay. I think we're gonna pass on this next one for now.
Okay.
Or do
I
we have
think
any-
I think they were gonna.
They were
have a
gonna take care of
discussion.
it.
They were gonna take care of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Marty does have his name there. Yeah,
Right.
excuse me. Okay, very good. Okay, then we got the Carroll County zoning commissioners.
Mary already told me she was not
Correct.
interested in doing that position, so I'll see if I can't find somebody for that,
Okay.
for her spot anyway.
I'll contact the other 4,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yep.
Okay.
You know this Katie Holtz, or as I can contact her.
Pardon me?
You want me to contact Katie otherwise?
Yeah, if you want to do that, and I'll get hold of Keith and the Jansens. Okay, that's all right. No problem. I'll do the other 3 then. Okay, thanks, Gene. Okay, Board of Adjustment, Mike Long. There's a note here that he lives in Carroll Incorporated. Is that a problem?
I don't
Needs
think
to
it
live in the
is.
county.
Yeah, he's gotta live. It's my understanding they need to live outside of, they need to live in the rural county.
Okay, so we need a new person there, in other words. We don't call Mike, we need to find a new person.
Does Mike know that?
I don't know, his phone number's there, and he has lived in Carroll for several years. And I don't know, this probably just, within the last 5 years, he probably has moved in it. The only reason I caught it was because I was looking at ones that were up, and I noticed that address isn't his anymore.
Oh, this Olympic
Yeah,
Avenue?
that's
Okay.
He lives on Northwest Street, so.
Okay, so,
That's where his wife lives.
Well, he lives in his dad's old house.
Okay, because I think it was a divorce situation.
Yeah, he remarried,
Did he?
and he lives in his dad's old house. I know Mike, in fact, I think I appointed him to the, I mean, I can call just to let him know that he's off, but I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have a replacement right off.
So do we have these kind of run from different territories? It appears like he kind of was up that area.
I think we tried doing it that way, but I don't know if that's always feasible. And remember, we gotta keep in mind gender balance.
Yeah. Well, that one would be gender
That would be
balance.
gender
Yeah.
You
balance.
could go
Either
either
way.
way on
Yeah.
that one.
We're flexible there.
Okay, well, just all of us to kind of keep in mind.
Keep that one in mind right
Okay.
now. Yeah, I know, I got Brian Huffman on there 1 year, so he's good. Okay. Communicate, oh, excuse me, Region 12.
I prefer not to be on that.
I think we'll assign that to Rich Rugels, where you were,
Okay.
Dean, and I
Yep.
understand you could have a conflict there. Okay, and then Marty and myself, I should, I don't know if Marty claimed that, but we're gonna put him there anyhow. Okay, Marty's got that one. Okay, Carol, City County Communications Commission. That's taken care of apparently.
Yeah.
We got Gene and Marty and the sheriff for his designee. Marty will contact John Brocklesby.
I don't think he has to. I think, I report to you guys that Johnson, he didn't want to do it again?
Yeah, I'm sure you did,
Yeah.
but do we have a replacement for him?
No. But John does not want to do it again. I know that. He told me that. And I says, well, you want to quit now? You want to do a resignation now? And he says, no, we'll wait till the term. So I know that's fact. Sometimes you gotta rethink.
Yeah, I remember you
things.
saying
My
that.
Senior.
I remember it now that you said it.
Sometimes I gotta rethink that through because of my senior moments.
Okay. Well, let's think about that, but I'll put a note to Marty that he needs to find a replacement, so he'll be working harder than the rest of us on that.
Well, yeah, you just not.
But if any of you think of another replacement for John,
Yeah.
you get hold of Marty.
But I know
Because-
John does not want to do it again.
Okay. All right, in those cases, we thank them for their years of service and move on.
I just noticed here that we have a Mallard View contract renewal. We can probably remove that from the list, I would assume.
Yes, we can do that. Is that right? I think we're.
Yep.
There won't be any more, so.
They're non-existent anymore.
I didn't even know I was on
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been missing all the meetings.
it.
You know-
I've been missing all the meetings.
We've
Now-
got this Raccoon River watershed, is that even, those two aren't even, Tom Helber doesn't even live in the county anymore. Just down from Mallard View. Those, we should probably take those off for now, because is that Raccoon watershed, that'll be all changed, the new,
That WMA, you mean?
yeah. I don't know what that would be.
I don't know what this is.
I don't know, it didn't have anything to do with that flood thing that we just got through, that,
No, whatever this is before my time. This is-
Yeah,
this
that's,
is-
Yeah.
I don't know that they were, I think.
I mean, Carl would probably know more about
I
that
think
than
we
any
do.
of us, but,
Okay.
since he's on it, but,
all right.
Maybe he doesn't know.
All right.
we'll probably have more appointments coming up if we add these watersheds.
Yeah, I was just thinking that we got the Middle South Raccoon, and
Yeah.
then now we've got the North Raccoon.
North Raccoon and Nishnabotna.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I think those will be appointments made by the chairperson.
Right.
In January, so. I think that's how we'll handle those. Okay. And then these township things, generally, the way we've done that is whoever has that township will make those calls.
Okay.
So if you have Neast or Maple River.
I'll do Neast, I guess.
You call the people in your township.
Yep.
And most of them. will
And
be
Maple
glad-
River as well.
You're gonna do Maple River?
Well, it's in my district, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I've got just a little bit of it.
I mean, if
That's
you want,
fine.
if you want to, you know either one of those two? I think the one we have to replace, right? Because they live in.
Vince,
No,
Vince, Vince Gross lives in Carroll now.
But that's okay.
But
That's
it's-
okay?
As long as your clerk lives in the rural.
Oh, okay.
You can have a trustee live in town as long as they still live in the right township.
Really?
So he moved to the right place. Because if he would've moved like.
Oh, out of-
And been in Grant Township, he, of course, couldn't
Okay,
have been on
okay,
it.
so as long as he lives in the township.
Correct. We looked
Okay.
that up because that happened in Union. Richard Oswald moved into Coon Rapids, as you can see up there, and he, as long as they're not the clerk, they can still be a trustee and live in town.
Okay.
They must change that law then.
I remember it when, that happened when Joan was here, and I remember we had to call and find out, because we weren't really sure.
I will contact the Roselle ones.
Okay, I'll contact the
All right. And,
Vince Gross and Marvy Creek.
I'll check.
Or- Yeah, Marvy
Creek.
Creek.
Yeah, Marty's already claimed Pleasant Valley, so we got them all covered now?
I believe so.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
You know, and Vincent might not want to do it since he moved to town. He might think,
Sure.
well, I moved to town, I don't want to do it. But
He still
He
can.
can if he wants to.
Sure.
according to the code.
He has got more time now, maybe.
Well, I'll probably I'll take care of it.
Okay, I think we're on to page 9, Case Management Advisory Board, the whole board there. It's apparently 3 years, but 3 years is up for everybody. Is that the way it works?
That's what it appears to be, yes.
I'm on that board. I could contact any or all of those people unless somebody has got one they want to take, otherwise I'll take care of that one.
Or see if Justin can do it.
Huh?
Or see if Justin can do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get a hold of Justin and call him one or the other, and then I'll take responsibility for seeing that it gets done.
Are they gonna get reactive? You know, we haven't met in
Yeah.
6 months.
I didn't realize it'd been that long.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the county condemnation compensation commissioners. I think the way we've handled them is just let them roll unless somebody contacts us. So at this point, is there anyone on here who,
Well, I was just looking to make sure they're all,
Alive?
Living?
yeah, make sure everybody's active and.
Edgar Hunt. I would say let her roll. Because I tell you what, that, several years back, that's the one we spent a lot of time getting that one, gender balance. That was the hardest one.
I don't know if Jackie lives here anymore. Not sure, I don't think she
I think
does.
she does. She lives on, can't think of what
Oh,
the street is.
over by the cemetery?
Yeah, it's kind of a red house.
Yeah, I thought maybe she moved away.
Well, I've seen the daughters there, so I'm assuming that she's still there. Just assume she does, since she didn't contact us.
So do you contact these people?
For the condemnation, I think we just let them roll.
Okay.
I think we just let them roll over. They're an actual annual appointment, are they not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only get, I don't know when the last time they've got reconvened.
Not in my tenure.
No. It's only if there's a condemnation.
Yep. Yeah, they haven't been very active lately.
Then they-
Something
then
like
they
the
bail.
Bakken pipeline
Then
they
failure or
bail.
something that might be more active. But,
I didn't even know it was on that.
Who put me on that?
Okay.
Your ex-wife.
I think that takes care of that. We'll hopefully get them all done, and we do need to get those done this month.
Okay.
And so I guess the main one is the Board of Adjustment, if someone thinks of someone for that. and the other one is the library trustee for Brocklesby Library.
I understand she's leaving, the Carroll
Yeah, she
librarian.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And due to that, the library's not gonna be able to meet with us until, I think, the second meeting we have in January.
Okay.
They lost their Coon Rapids librarian.
Yep.
And she kind of spearheaded everything.
Oh, that's right, she
So we have a new
died.
person down there, and then the gal in Carroll's leaving, so they're having issues with getting some of the.
Well, and the one in Manning's fairly new.
She is, yeah. They will be here and they'll have everything ready, and I didn't think it'd be too big of a deal to put
Yeah.
them off for a couple weeks,
Okay.
considering.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is winter management annual updates, New Fashion Fork, Farm 190, Cinco, Section 28, Richmond Township. They changed crop rotation and they're using winter analysis. So we get that over to Courtney. Committee reports. Mark, would you like to start, please?
Yeah, mine's the briefest. Oh, I have had no committee report, actually last 2 weeks. So I have ambulance board meeting tomorrow night, and thought there was something else, but no, just the ambulance board meeting tomorrow night. My last one.
Okay. Dean?
Yeah, the first thing I did last week was made sure that Pat was working on his thing for, the billing company out of Omaha, and he did get that to me this weekend, so I can send that now off to them, and they can put something together as far as a presentation to the board then. Had Region 5 Hazmat at Fort Dodge. That was a very interesting meeting. And I'll first talk about the speaker that was there. He was from Sunoco Logistics, which is the company that will be taking over the Bakken oil pipeline. So that's how, how those things work. I think they kind of work that way with the wind turbines. They have some company come in like Bakken and they build it and they sell it off to somebody else. But, so this is information that he handed out as far as that is concerned. It was really very interesting. I mean, you don't get an opportunity to talk to somebody like this. He is the regional, he'd be the Iowa manager of the pipeline. And he has 2 assistants, technicians. Interesting things he did say is that every 300 miles there's a pump station. And the pump station in Iowa is in Cambridge, Iowa, and that's where he's located. And they take that fuel and they recharge it and send her back down. It's actually gravity driven, but it's at 1,440 PSI. So it's moving.
Sounds like
And,
it.
The pipe itself is cathodic protected, so it means that there is an electrical. These are really all that, since I'm familiar with underground storage tanks, those also had to be cathodically protected so that you could tell if you had a leak or if you had any rust in that area. And these are all monitored from a point in Texas that is manned 7/24/365. So there's somebody watching this all the time. And if there's any dip in pressure, that they see, they have valves. That's where the pump is in Cambridge, but they have valves every 8 to 10 miles. They have valves ahead of the rivers, ahead of, any structure, any kind of creek or waterway that they think could be contaminated, they do have valves that they can shut off in Texas if they see something. So it's, of course, you don't just shut something off. At 1440 PSI, you just don't drop the valve. I
Yeah.
mean, it has to be a gradual reduction, and it's probably actually reduction
All the
back
way up,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, so, one thing that I found very interesting was, I asked him how deep this tank, this, pipeline is. And he said 48 inches in the ground. And I thought that was, amazing, how
How shallow it is?
shallow
or-
it is,
okay.
yeah. And he said if there's any district tile or anything, or, like a county drain or tile, it goes underneath that by 2 feet, so. And that is actually protected, there's actually even more protection on that. There's another shield that goes under, protects that, so. I think it's fairly, the erosion, the 48 inches after he told me that, I asked him towards the end, the final question I had, well, the erosion issues in the state of Iowa would bother me, I guess, That can be 4 feet under the ground right now, but 5 or 7 years from now, it could be 2 feet under the ground
Mhm.
because of the erosion. They said, well, he didn't really give me a good answer on that, but they do monitor that. I don't know how they do that, but he said they do monitor, they'll be able to monitor that. So, I talked to Scott Jacobs after the meeting about my concerns about the 48 inches. He says, well, he said, we really had a fight for that. He said, they wanted it at 30 inches. And all the county supervisors involved with that pipeline got together and they said, well, do you know, they told him, do you know how much it's gonna cost to go 18 inches deeper? And he said, well, it's not gonna go if it doesn't go 18 inches deeper, so,
How many times is it gonna be hit with
What
the
is-
time machine?
yeah.
What is the depth of these natural gas pipelines that go
And I
across
have
there?
no idea.
See, I got one that goes, my dad does too, I think they're only a couple feet deep.
But natural
Really?
gas wouldn't have, nearly the environmental impact
No,
as
no, it wouldn't.
fuel
No.
oil would.
But I'm just saying that
Probably
there's-
more dangerous.
Probably more dangerous in terms
to
of explosion.
to,
Yeah.
Immediate area.
Right.
I'm just thinking that we've had so many of them around for so long with so few issues, but I'm not sure how deep they are, but I
Yeah,
understand.
and I thought that thing too, we talked about that, how there's all kinds of pipelines, and they showed a graph of that, of all the mazes of pipelines that are actually going through the state of Iowa,
Right.
so
This one
So-
catches
so
the
it is.
attention because of the sheer volume that it handles.
yeah, and he said that, the viscosity of it, I mean, when I think of crude oil, I think of a black, slimy mess, and he says it's more of the consistency of 3-in-1 oil. If you ever-
Really?
Yeah, he said it's actually transparent, and it's very easy to refine because of that. So, I thought it was an interesting, you were able to get some questions that, you don't normally get. The second, and there was other things that they talked about, but the biggest thing that I'm gonna hit on is the projected increases in 2016 for to be a member. And they wanted to increase it by 25 cents, which I reported on from the last meeting. And I'll pass these out. And I've got a copy myself, so. Hope you can get one. Maybe you can use Marty's for right now, Rich, if you want to look at that. The one graph is what the current status of the company, of the rate is. And then the second one would be if they increase it by $1.25 or $1.50 or $2. So, as you can see on both of these, we are the second highest contributor to the region. Hamilton County is probably the biggest user of their services. And I put up as big an argument as I could about if we're probably the second highest, but probably the get the least usage of the services. And it's only by nature of what they have in their counties. I understand that probably Pocahontas and Sac County don't have a lot of things as well. Wright County has significant, I mean, they've got a packing plant going up in that county. There are, I'm not sure how many, we have a biodiesel facility here. I don't know how many ethanol plants. I know there's at least 3 of them in Hamilton County. There's a technical plant in Hamilton County by Fort Dodge there that it seems like they're called out. They're on the list of incidents almost quarterly. You also have Van Diest, you have Koch up there, and Webster and Hamilton County. And I guess the point that I made to them is that I'm not in favor of any increases, simply because the county, we as a county do not use their services. So when they came to the vote, I was the only dissenting vote of all the counties. So I did not agree with the increase, and they said, well, they assured us that our services were not, be really, we're still a member, and.
So they approved what?
They approved $1.25.
What?
So, I don't know, I think it needs more scrutinization. I guess I talked to a couple of supervisors afterwards, and I says, well, maybe we need to make a parity situation out of this, and if you don't use, you don't pay, so that maybe Carroll County should stay at $1, and maybe
Hamilton
and Webster should be $1.50.
Right.
Well, and I suggested Dean maybe need to have a base on the per capita, and then do a user, based on user after that. You might have to wait till you get use these last year's figures or whatever, and then just keep adjusting it
Well, and a question I would have,
on a
and,
percentage basis.
during all this, and maybe you were provided, but I would ask for a current fund balance and budgeted expenditures over 5-year history.
Yeah,
Did
we
anybody even suggest that?
Yeah, we get fund balances. We do have that.
How'd their fund balance look?
Well, and this is the point that they made, was that, every year they're dipping into their reserves. And at one point, they said they replaced, but they were able to replace them as the money comes in. And then I asked that, or Kevin Danner, who's on there from Carroll County with me, he asked that question, and he says, well, we can't completely replace those reserves.
How did Kevin vote?
Well, he can't vote.
Oh, he's not a non-voting
Yeah.
member, okay.
Yeah. So.
But he agreed with your position on it?
Yeah, to a point. I think he was concerned about, they need something, they need a contact.
Right.
Whoever it is, so I think he held back for that reason.
Well, and I agree with you, this is more like an insurance policy.
Yeah, that's the way I put
Fortunately,
it.
we haven't had to use them. That's
Right.
the good thing. But you still have to have that service, because in case when it ever does happen, but.
Attendees pointed out to me that we have a major railroad coming through here, in which we do. But you take Webster County, they have 2 4-lane highways on 2 sides of their county, as well as Van Diest and Koch in their communities, so.
It still amounts as a subsidy. I mean, bottom line, to other
Well,
counties.
you know, it's, I look at it as an insurance policy, and Neil and I talked a little bit about it, and Gene, that, you know, actuaries, we could have actuaries come in and see where the big threat is, you know, in this region, and we wouldn't have to pay. I bet we would actually pay less than a buck if we had an actuary look at this and look at where the threat is.
Risk potential.
The risk potential, exactly. So, I don't know, I think we're gonna have more discussions on this, and I'm gonna keep,
Oh, I thought it's
Keep at
final.
it.
Isn't it final?
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, we're still a member, and we don't have to be a member.
Right.
Or we can
It won't,
question.
it won't sit well with the EMA. I mean, boy, those guys are. they'll-
You know, and I've talked to the fire chief up in Breda and the one in Helber, and, you know, the big thing is, well, if you don't go with these guys, where do you go? And the fire chief in Helber told me that Sioux City's is 31 cents per capita.
Mhm. Right.
So the big thing is what do you get for that 31 cents? And, you know, if it's further away, if we have to call them, training, and the director up there pointed out to me that if you go to Sioux City, you know, their hazmat unit comes down and gives training too.
And our guys would like to see a lot more of that.
And I think that's probably been an issue.
Mhm.
They don't get enough, where Sioux City, you would have to go there,
I
you know,
think they
for the
maybe show
training.
up here once a year at a county fireman's.
Right. One time a
That's-
year.
That's like usually maybe about an hour, and that's it, you know?
Yeah. And I was a little bit disappointed in the Tom Euban, who's on that, who is the kind of heads up that hazmat unit. He says, well, you know, maybe I should look closer at where the money's going. And I says, Tom, that's a very good place to start.
My point exactly. My point exactly.
So,
Okay.
it's an ongoing thing, you know, so I guess, Courtney, there's gonna be money coming out, more money coming out for that.
I think we're kind of in, geographically, we're the furthest county away from Fort Dodge, where all their services come out of. So what Dean doesn't have is a very good arguing point, because we don't have any options. For Dean to have an effective opportunity, or anybody, I won't put it on your shoulders, Dean, but for our county to have an effective bargaining opportunity, we need to have a different option.
Right.
I mean, we need to say, well, we could go with Sioux City, or et cetera, find out what our options are. And if we can find a better option than them that we're willing to use, then we should say, hey, we have a better option than you guys, and we're willing to use it if you won't negotiate, and follow through.
Audubon stands alone.
Yeah, they don't have anything, and, you know, it's a risk. I mean, the other thing is, if something happens on this railroad, you know, it doesn't come out of the counties, you know, whatever happens. I mean,
Right.
the rail's responsible for that, and all the, you know.
They still pay that tab.
Yep,
What
and,
is it? Truck?
and as far as any kind of, if there's a truck rollover on Highway 30 here tomorrow, diesel, you know, if it's Casey's truck, Casey has to pay for the cleanup.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like, you know, so what are we actually paying for? I mean, really, I mean.
I understand they had one down by West Atlantic, or Anita, the other day, doing that accident.
Yeah.
That trailer was hazmat. What it was in, I don't know.
So, I don't know, I think that there's some due diligence has to be done here. And we'll just have to go forward and see if we can negotiate for a better price. I think that's kind of like
Okay.
what has to happen.
They don't want to lose us either.
No, they don't want to lose us. I mean, that's a big hit for them.
Right.
If we pull out.
You know, we're the second leading contributor.
Yes, sir.
And the next to last leading user.
Yep. So we're the best deal they got.
Mhm.
Really. So.
They need to know that we have options.
Well,
Or
yeah,
they're
yeah,
being
and
hard
they
to-
definitely know,
Hard to negotiate with.
they definitely know today that we are concerned.
Good for you on your vote.
So,
Thanks, Dean.
what else has we got? I think that was Highway 30. Gene and I went to Highway 30 Coalition meeting in Ames on Thursday. And of all the meetings that I've gone to, and I think that Adam Schwerz he's taken control of that, and I'm not sure if it's to the, I don't know, to the, it's better for this coalition, I will say that. I'm not sure that Edith was too excited about that, but anyway, I think there's a bigger push now, I think, for this. What I got out of that is, and Stuart Anderson, I'm not exactly sure if he's the second guy in charge there, or
He's a planner.
he's a planner. He's got to be their head planner, yeah. And so, he had some information on that. I think there's, as far as money coming, I think that the gas tax has been a real windfall for everybody in the state, and I think a lot of good things are happening. It's just getting them directed, so that they will benefit to Carroll County is what we're mostly interested in. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit easier to get money, to get something going on the Highway 30 thing. Because of that, I think it'll be interesting to see who the permanent director of the DOT is going to be. I think Mr. Trombino focused in on things that really had nothing to do with rural Iowa. Maybe that's a little harsh. But he was really focused on the interstates, focused on rail, focused on water. So we'll see where that goes. But some of the things that are happening, I think there's a discussion on, as far as Carroll is concerned, Highway 30 and Grant Road. There's something going to happen there as far as turning lanes. Highway 30 and Highway 100, and I'm not exactly sure.
That's a big interchange.
Yeah.
Taking up too much property.
They're focusing on southeast Iowa as far as Highway 61 and 63. 80 and 380 intersection in Coralville is going to be a major change there. Interstate 35 and Highway 30 interchange at Ames is going to be done at some point in time, which is probably not a bad thing. They could make some improvements there. I guess that's probably all I have. I think as far as Highway 30 is concerned, that is on the board and is going to happen is Lisbon to DeWitt and Tama and Benton counties are actually, those would be 4 lanes. So I think the big push is we talked about that from Tama, that stretch of road to towards Cedar Rapids. That's a real bottleneck in there, and I think that's going to get some attention, in the future here. There's an input meeting with the DOT in April. That's going to be very important. So if anybody has any suggestions on what to do with that. Question that I had is he talked about the commissioners make all the decisions. And he kept repeating that, how it has to go through the commissioners. So there was some discussion about, the new commissioners that'll be replaced or be reappointed. But the question that I had was, okay, you say that everything really basically has to come through the commissioners, and my question was, well, who influences the commissioners? And what percentage of? And he said, well, it probably pretty much comes from the DOT, the office themselves, and from Stuart Anderson and probably Director Trombino at the time. So and like Gene said, we talked about that. I still think you have to have these coalitions. If you've got a project you want to have done, you got to stay on it. a lot of stuff that's gonna happen that's gonna affect Carroll County. It's probably gonna be after my time, but somebody has to work on it, so. Good, thanks. Anyway, I think that's all I had for last week. This week, I've got the West Nishnabotna watershed meeting in Oakland on the 14th. And I don't know if anybody got this on the, somebody could take my place for this. It's kind of a good deal. It's the Elk Run Watershed is having like a open house Friday, this Friday, and it's in the it's at Breda in the Legion Hall, and it starts at 4 o'clock. And it starts at 4 o'clock with a happy hour at 5:30 and a meal at 6:30 and prime rib and open bar. So I'll be leaving town that afternoon. So I am gonna talk to Diane Ursey, who is with the Iowa Soybean Association, who is putting it on, and I want to see where the project is going. So I'll probably briefly have a report on that. Otherwise, that's for my week. That's my report.
Thank you, Dean. Gene?
On Tuesday, I had CADC, and we spent most of the whole meeting was the evaluation of our director. And now it has to go back to the executive board, both of CADC and to the chamber. And then after that, at Tuesday, I went out and I did a visit with Head Start to visit the classrooms and did that. Then on Thursday, I went, well, as Dean said, went to Highway 30 Coalition. The only thing I can add with Dean on that Highway 30 Coalition, there was some talk about now the change of administration. There's some talk of doing some infrastructure work. They're maybe hoping to look at that when it comes up. So, but I agree with Dean. I think it's one of those cases where we just got to keep our nose in front of them all the time. This week is my busy week. I've got Policy Council tomorrow night. Wednesday, Neil and I will be going to jail again down at Red Oak. We're going to do an inspection down there. And then Thursday, I have New Opportunities Board meeting. And then Friday is the Yes Center.
Busy week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gene.
Oh, and one other thing I did last week, I did the evaluation for Chad Jensen. They all shipped them in to me, and I do a combination of everything, compile everything. So that's done.
Okay. All right, last week was pretty quiet. I did go to Rockwell City and congratulate longtime Supervisor Gary Nichols on his retirement. I've worked with him even before he was a supervisor for several years. Okay, and this week, as Gene mentioned, we've got the jail tour on Wednesday. On Thursday, I've got the CPPC, Community Program for Protecting Children. On Friday morning, I'm in Webster City for the 2nd Judicial District meeting, and Friday afternoon, Rolling Hills has a meeting in Sac City, so it's a busier week coming up. Courtney, what do we have on our agenda for next meeting?
Well, I hope you're ready for budget funding requests, because that's all that's on the agenda.
Okay.
It's full of funding requests. And I don't think, unless Dave would happen to have something, I'm not gonna really put anything else on there, because it'll be full of those. It will be full of those. And
It's the 19th, I believe, is the RFP opening, or that's when they're due.
Yeah.
yeah, public hearings at 10 a.m. that day, next Monday.
Right.
Got kind of intermingled with everything else, but, and then we're gonna be having a special election on February 7th for the school. I'm sure you guys probably heard that in the news.
Okay, anything else? All right, anything else from the board members? Any comments from anyone in attendance?
What is your reasoning for 2 people doing the pre-budget discussions for the very
Well, I think it gives a lot of opportunities to openly discuss things without being in an open meeting, so that when we do come to the open meeting, we can be more efficient with our time.
I think it's.
There's some general things the whole board just doesn't need to hear, but need to be discussed at budget time. That's kind of my philosophy.
Transparency to the public.
And then if there is an issue, and sometimes there is, the supervisor who had that meeting will be better prepared to present it at the public meeting. So,
Well, and I think it's another way, I think our department heads like it in the fact that it gives them a way to discuss things with us. You know, it's another way of having dialogue without a lot of to-do.
Also mention that we've received the audit from Prairie, or Plains, right here. And I've tagged a couple of pages on there that are of interest. I looked at it over the weekend, if anybody wants to look at it. Okay, all right. Any other comments from those in attendance?
Yeah, I meant to ask Jason, do you remember the people that are donating that cabin? Do they wish to remain anonymous? Is that the
No,
thing?
he
Or they
said
just-
his name,
Did he say it?
Which is Derner.
Pat Durner.
I would contact Jason
I'll ask him.
about that, yeah.
He said it
yeah.
in the meeting last time.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was off the top of my head. And then when you voted on the 545 same thing, I couldn't, it was a little, did you vote against that? I couldn't tell if you were with them or against them, just the timing of it.
On the septic thing?
No, on the moving, donating 5.
Oh,
and
yeah,
going-
I opposed it. I want it to be
Okay,
all
that's what I
along.
thought, I just wanted to make sure. that-
I'm sure it'll be a successful project. I'm not against the project. It's just the,
Right.
I had a difference of opinion on how it should be funded.
Sure, it was just awkward timing, I couldn't tell if you were, it was just
Okay.
awkward timing.
No,
And then,
I did vote against it, yes.
My last thing is, where you guys tour the jail, I just missed it.
Red Oak.
Red Oak, Iowa. Mhm.
Alright, so I got officially.
Okay. All right, if there's
Lock 'em up.
anything else, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Move second to adjourn, it's non-debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.